Tov, Shavua Tov, Gute Woche. I'm going to tell story number 93 of the Shivchei haBaal Shem Tov, the oldest anthology of Baal Shem Tov stories, the title of which is haBaal Shem Tov Nishba Sheyechie Hayeled. The Baal Shem Tov gave an oath, he swore that the child will live. I heard from Rab Pesach, the son of Rab Yosef of Kaminke, so he's the source for the story, that the Baal Shem Tov was going on the highway and he arrived to a certain city and he heard a cruise, a message from above announcing that he would lodge in a certain house. It says Bait or Achsania is a house or an inn, so it's probably a house where they rented a room for people to stay. So the Baal Shem Tov arrived to that house, and they did not want to welcome him as a guest. They didn't want to receive him because the son of the owners was very sick, was very ill. So the Baal Shem Tov sent his Talmid, his disciple, Ratzvi the Sofer, to that house, and the lady of the house said, how would it be possible to lodge here? Don't you see, my son is very sick and I am in such a stress. I can't have guests now, basically. And then she cursed the Baal Shem Tov. The owner of the house wouldn't dare do such a thing, so he came out to meet the Baal Shem Tov and ask him to please go. And he said to the Baal Shem Tov that it's not possible to lodge in his place because the Baal Shem Tov made an oath. The Baal Shem Tov made an oath that when he stays in that house, meaning if I stay in the house, the child would live, would be alive, would continue being alive. So the man accepted the Baal Shem Tov in his house. Immediately, the Baal Shem Tov went to the mikveh, and he saw, meaning by toibel and by dipping in the mikveh, it was revealed to the Baal Shem Tov that the child was really not well. The situation was very serious. So he ordered that no one would be found in the house, that everybody should go somewhere else, to another house, and he would be alone with the child. He even told Ratzvi, his Talmid traveling with him, not to be in the house until he would call him to bring him wine for Kiddush. For this story was happening on Erev Shabbos Kodesh, meaning this happens on the eve of Shabbos. They arrive on a Friday, this whole thing happens, and then the story will continue through the night of Friday, when Shabbat has begun. So the Baal Shem Tov was left alone with the child, and he davened, he prayed the tefillah, the prayer of Mincha, and then he stayed there for a long time, way into the night, until the Ratzvi the Sofer became frightful that the Baal Shem Tov would be chas v'shalom in danger because of the great effort of his prayer for this sick person, and the situation was really dangerous. How so? We'll explain. The Sofer came out of his worry and opened slowly the door, a tiny bit, and he hears the Baal Shem Tov talking to the neshama, the soul of the child, telling the soul, go into the child's body, you are required to go in because I shall not have sworn a false oath. Ratzvi, the Sofer, didn't know if the child was dead or still alive and there was still some liveliness left in his body. So the Sofer left, in a short hour came back, entered and found the Baal Shem Tov laying on the floor, facing down with his arms and legs extended on the floor. Immediately the Baal Shem Tov stood up and he said, "Didn't I tell you to go into the child's body?" And then he turned to the Sofer and said, "Hirsch." Tzvi in Hebrew, Hirsch in Yiddish. The Baal Shem Tov calls in his language, in Yiddish, Hirsch. "Bring me the wine for Kiddush." And they proceeded to eat together the Friday night meal. Then the Baal Shem Tov did not sleep the entire night. By morning, he gave the healing refuahs, as whatever he was doing to heal the child, as well as the directions of how to continue, to the Sofer. And he went to the Bes Medrash, to the study hall of the synagogue, to do his morning prayers. The mother of the child understood that her son was coming back to his health, and she started crying in a big, huge, bitter cry. The Sofer could hear her and ask her, "Why are you crying?" And she said, "How am I not going to cry? I cursed such a tzaddik." And he said, "Oh, don't cry. My Rebbe is a good man and he's going to forgive you." When the Baal Shem Tov came back from his tefillah, from his praying, he heard the woman crying. And he asked the Sofer, "Why is she crying?" The Sofer told him. So he sent the Sofer and told him, tell her not to cry, and to do a good seuda shalishis, to prepare a good meal for the third meal of Shabbos. And I promise you that the child will sit with us at the table for the seuda, for the meal. Now, this that the Baal Shem Tov was found on the floor with his hands and his arms and legs extended means that he accepted to receive upon himself a pulsa de nura, a lash of fire from heaven, because of the oath enforcing the soul of the child to come back into the body. And the Baal Shem Tov was able to accomplish through his avodah, through his spiritual service, through his prayers to God, that the child would continue being alive into adulthood for more than 60 years, and he would marry to have children and a good parnasa, a good sustenance for all the days of his life. And from this story, it seems like the time for the child had already come. And the Baal Shem Tov had to pray so hard and do all of this to get the child to continue being alive and have parnasa and children. And my 2 cents worth of explanation, when the Baal Shem Tov did swore his oath, normally we have up in heaven a judgment, a midas adin and a midas rachmin, the divine aspect of mercy and forgiveness on us. So things balance out. But upon giving the oath, the Baal Shem Tov lifted the midas rachamim from himself, and the midas adin came heavily on him, the divine judgment, and that's the pulsa de nura. But he accepts. The tzaddik has to accept for it to happen. So he accepted upon him. He's a tzaddik, so he can stand up and continue, and even challenge the soul of the child. "No, I told you to go back." Of course, had it not happened to a tzaddik, he would not have been able to live to tell about it. Well, that's my 2 cents worth. I am translating all the stories of the Baal Shem Tov into, in these stories in English and in Spanish every week. I'm writing them down with the hopes to publish the book, the Shivchei Baal Shem Tov, in Spanish every single week. I appreciate contributions, links in the description. Please give me a like, subscribe, tell your friends, watch it over and over. Help me out. Shavua Tov, a gute Woche. Who's crying?